Hi, I'm Josh Farrar. I'm a new proud member of the Irving Rotary Club as of about 3 months ago. I work at Great Hearts Academies, a charter school here in Irving. I love Rotary. I'll be here next week and I invite you to join us.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the March 18th, 2021 meeting of the Irving Las Colinas Rotary Club. We'll begin with a prayer led by Bill Lavarro.
Would you stand up? Holy Spirit, I'm secretary today for Bobby because his wife is having an issue with vertigo. And if you've ever had vertigo, respect that. So join me in the spirit of prayer. Eternal God, we give you thanks for the blessings of this day, for this club, its work in our community. We ask that your spirit be upon us, be upon our club, be upon our big project for flags, which is now, and we're really running to get started, and to bless that, and to bless this food, and to take it to the nourishment of our bodies. In the name of Christ, amen.
Tom Box will lead us in the pledge.
Place the flag, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Neil Sandra will lead us in song.
You can see these things on the picture.
And Neil and Sandra will lead us in singing When Irish Eyes Are Smiling.
Are you smiling? Let me sing it. When Irish eyes are smiling. And hear you. When the weather is lighter, you can hear the angels sing. When Irish eyes are happy, all the world seems bright again. But when Irish eyes are shining, sure they will. Now I hate to tell you this, but I couldn't hear you, and you couldn't hear me either. See you next year.
They asked me if I knew that song, and I said, I have sung it many times, but there was always alcohol involved. So I really don't know if I remember the words or not. And Hattie Caperton will introduce our visiting guests and Rotarians.
Good afternoon. It's good to be back here, and I've had my 2 shots plus 2 weeks, so I feel a little safer. Still have my mask. Want to welcome our guest today, Cindy Porter, President-elect of the Sunrise Club. Welcome, Cindy. Lexi Batchelor. Hi, Lexi, welcome. And Brian Redburn, Assistant Chief, who's guest, Chief Spivey. Welcome, Brian, good to see you.
Thank you, Patty. Announcements. Do we have any announcements? I know that I'm sure Lazaro Alvarez has some announcements.
Sure. I'll go over there, that way they can hear.
Sure, yes.
Thank you, Bob. So we have the Irving Marathon finally that we've been talking about for years, and it's happening March 27th at Toyota Music Factory. The event itself is going to be Saturday, March 27th from 8 in the morning, 7 in the morning until around 2. And we do need volunteers at aid stations or the area, or also if you just want to come out and see a race, you can go to Williams Square. The marathoners are going to go through that area 4 times, so there's 4 opportunities to see about 400 runners that are coming from all over the country. It is a Boston Marathon qualifier, so it's a big achievement that they come here to Irving. So if you guys have family, get them out there. It'd be a great opportunity this year, and plus there's a lot of things to do in Las Colinas as well. We also have, leading to that, what is called pack and pickup, where the runners come and grab their gear, and that is Saturday from 2 to 6 this week, and then Friday the 26th from 2 to 6 as well at Together Music Factory. We also need some more volunteers, so if anybody wants to come out there, just kind of guiding people kind of where to go and whatnot. So if anybody needs more information, it's at irvingmarathon.com under a tab called volunteer. So irvingmarathon.com, get involved, volunteer. And any questions, I'll be around. Rick Lindsay has a question.
Yeah, Laz, could you, since our program today is the Irving Police Department, could you talk a little bit about the number of policemen you're going to have in police ladies at the race, what it takes, your interaction with that?
Sure. Well, first of all, I want to say that all of this that we're talking about wouldn't be possible without the support that we have received from the Irving Police Department, especially Sergeant Seaton, who's in charge of the Special Events Unit. He has between 50 to 60 officers ready for Saturday, March 27th, to cover 13 miles of roads and downtown Las Colinas, along Riverside, for all these runners that are going to come. Furthermore, they have been very great at working with us through these times that we're having, and they also have been able to, give us that back that we know that we can count on them to be able to make race day happen. So that's just that race. But this past weekend too, we had the Irving St. Patrick's race, which his team, we had 17 officers there at 6 a.m. working and closing down streets, making sure that people were there. We get so many compliments too from the runners, as opposed to some officers just sitting there just watching runners go. The Irving police officers actually wave, they smile, they joke around with the runners, so they add a lot to the environment of racing. So thank you for all of that you guys do. And these guys are really awesome because, like I said, it's been, you often hear about how hard it is to work and get these things done, but not here in Irving. So we're really grateful for having a great police department. So, all right, like I said, thank you so much for the opportunity to make the announcement. If you have any questions, irvingmarathon.com, or just let me know. Thank you, guys.
Do we have any other announcements? And I have to say, since this is my first meeting in about a year, I didn't realize until I was glancing up at the screen and seeing all my fellow Zoomers. It's a lot easier to attend via Zoom than to, oh geez, I have to get ready, I have to shower, it's much easier to attend via Zoom than it is to actually come in person. So now I appreciate that. If no one has any other announcements, I think that Rick Lindsay will ask you to introduce today's program.
Good afternoon, and as Bob said, it's been a while since I've attended, so it's a pleasure to be here to see all of you in person and get to go around and greet and get and see everybody's smiling faces. So Neil, last night at Nosh and Bottle, there must have been some Irishmen and ladies there. They were really singing some folk hymns and songs. Irishized, it was quite a party. So anyway, I did remember how to get home that way, but quite a nice celebration at Toyota Music Factory. So that venue is working out with the city of Irving. So before I go into the program, just a quick question. Show of hands, who all has had both shots? Just show me your hand. Both shots. Everybody that wants to has had the shots. If you're having issues, I'll be glad to help you go out on the Dallas County website, or we can work through Laura. Wave Laura, there she is right there. We will help you if you're not being successful in getting the shots. So 1A, 1B, we're down to the 1C level. If you haven't had an opportunity to listen to Judge Jenkins, he gave a great presentation yesterday. Every 2 weeks, the chamber welcomes him, and so he gives a discussion about what the numbers are doing and the B117 mutated thing that might come this way. And based on what he said yesterday, if you had Moderna or Pfizer or now the JJ, you're probably at this point still at those numbers of 95 or 93 or 97 covered. So everything is good. What he did ask is that we all continue with the protocols and that we be gracious and show gratitude to the other people that you encounter. And he also said, check on the people you know and check on them regularly and make sure they're doing okay, both from the Siberian ice storm as well as the COVID. So, we're all working together towards the same. So that's my talk on that. But today I have the pleasure to continue a program that this Rotary Club has had in effect for a couple of years. And so today our program will be an update by Assistant Chief Redburn on kind of the year that the police department's had and talk about that. And then we will also recognize the police officer for the quarter. And I would ask you to don't take any pictures and just put this into permanent memory. Does everybody get my drift? Nod. Okay, good. So it's a pleasure to invite Assistant Chief Redburn up here. I got a call from Chief Spivey, and he had a family emergency this morning. Everybody's okay. I told him they were in our prayers, but Chief Redburn immediately jumped in here to give us a hand. So today we would like to recognize our officer of the quarter. So before I start, Chief, you want to talk a little bit about what this officer did to qualify for us to do this?
Yes, absolutely. Officer Batchelor, Officer Robin Batchelor, she is one of our undercover officers, which is why we asked that no photographs be taken and distributed on social media. But she also was our officer of the quarter. And I brought along a write-up from her supervisors about some of the work she did. There was outstanding work that caused us to nominate her for officer of the quarter. The narcotics section received several reports from the school resource officers and patrol officers internally about juveniles being found in possession of THC products. What we're talking about here are the vape cartridges with the highly concentrated levels of THC. These are certainly very dangerous products because they're unregulated, because they're illegal, because they're a banned controlled substance, but often they contain concentrations as high as 70 or 80%. So this is a dangerous product we're talking about here. Investigator Batchelor was assigned to the complaint, and she worked in conjunction with our school resource officers and patrol to identify the source who was actively supplying these products to juveniles. Investigator Batchelor was able to identify the main source of the narcotics on Instagram and several of the conspirators through previous Irving police reports, and was able to establish communication with the defendants through various forms of social media. The narcotics section conducted a total of 14 undercover purchases from 9 individuals over the course of 6 months from numerous locations scattered all over the city of Irving. The Irving Police Narcotics Section identified and arrested a total of 8 individuals involved in this drug conspiracy. And the arrest of these people is exceptional. It's exceptional in many ways. It's a great example of teamwork for our whole section. But it's incredible work by Officer Batchelor, because she put together all the pieces in this puzzle very quickly. She was able to identify all the conspirators, and our community is certainly a much safer place because of her work. So.
Thank you, Chief. Officer RV. After that write up, I'm thinking Tubbs and Crockett. From the Miami guys, I can hear the music, but it is an honor and a pleasure for me to recognize you on behalf of the Irving Las Colinas Rotary Club. And Chief, if I could, I'd like to read what's on this, and then I'm going to hand it to you and let you present it to the officer. So this plaque or award says, Irving Las Colinas Rotary Club recognizes RB for your commitment to the integrity, excellence, courage, dedication to duty, leadership, teamwork, and accountability. We express our sincere gratitude for your professionalism, compassion, and loyalty in providing exceptional services and protecting and promoting a high quality of life for residents, visitors, and businesses of the city of Irving, July through September 2020. It's my honor to present you this award. Chief, I'm gonna let you do that.
Congratulations.
Sure.
A lot of what we do involves obviously undercover purchases, so a lot of the investigation involved multiple units that are out there as security for the undercover officer who does the buy. We also have patrol officers involved, so it involves a lot of manpower and time. So the unit put in a lot of hours, and it started right when COVID first hit. So there was a lot of restrictions on activities, but our unit really worked hard despite those limitations. So I'm really proud of the section as well, not just my own involvement, but we have a really good undercover team. So I think they also deserve this as well. So thanks.
Thank you. Well, Councilman Kyle, would you like to say something at this point, or you want to wait till the end of the chief's discussion? And Councilman Zavanza, if you'd like to add some comments, waves me off. So, okay, Kyle.
First of all, congratulations. This is just another example of the great police department we have here in the city of Irving. You know, whether it's Coffee with a Cop or whether it's behavioral health leadership team, beauty shop, barbershop stuff that we do, the fact that they're willing and able to come to anything and talk to the community, I think shows a lot. And it's, you know, and Al can say the same thing. It's really great to work as a city council and as a leader. And when this country's going through some of the things that we've gone through in the past regarding police relationships, is every one of my phone calls is, I love our police department. I love what they do. I love how they handle themselves. It's a community first based, you know, based program. When the FBI is awarding your city's police department for things that they do to be involved in the community, I think it just tells you how lucky we are. Not just elected officials that get to hear and see all the things they do, how lucky we are as residents that the kind of service that they provide for us. And not only that, but the kind of quality of individual that they're hiring to wear that uniform and that badge. And I think that says a lot about leadership of the police department, who they're picking to wear that uniform, to represent us and to serve us, says a lot. So I just appreciate everything that y'all do. Thank y'all.
Councilman Taylor, thank you very much for your comments. Chief, I'm going to turn it over to you for your discussion presentation update. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today. And Chief Spidey sends his apologies. And he notified me this morning. Guess what? You're the entertainment at Rotary today. So, and my understanding of this discussion was to talk about the winter weather response and some of the challenges. And then I was going to talk about a couple of legislative updates, some pending legislation that we're monitoring and tracking. And then I can answer any questions about COVID response or anything after that. I'll leave some time for Q&A. So starting with the winter storm response, you know, we knew from the weather forecast that this was going to be an all hands on deck type situation. So very early on, the city manager started talking about the timing of when to activate the Emergency Operations Center. And the Emergency Operations Center is staffed by people from various departments. And the idea is they're all gathered together in one place. So you have one point of intelligence gathering and information gathering, and then we can disseminate the services we need to in an efficient manner. So all the essential personnel, we're told everybody's coming in. We modified schedules. Since schools were closed, we used the school resource officers to supplement patrol. They came in at 5 a.m. just to be able to cover that rush hour traffic and any accidents that arose and help patrol with shift change. Same thing with the traffic section. We saw a significant decrease in crime-related calls, which is to be expected, right? So even the bad guys were at home, sheltering in place for this one. We saw a 300% increase in welfare check calls. You know, loved ones not being able to get in contact with their relatives in the city. Fortunately, I don't believe we lost anyone due to exposure or anything related to the power outages. So we were very fortunate in that respect. Accident calls rose substantially, as you would expect. We had a 30-car pileup on State Highway 114. You may have seen that on the news. We had a water rescue at Jefferson Park. 2 people were walking on the ice and fell in. And our fire department and a couple of our officers had to go into the water and get these people out in very frigid temperatures and water temperature. They wound up okay. We opened 2 warming centers, one north and one south, and then we organized a shuttle program where police officers and other city staff were helping people get out of their homes and go to the warming shelters. We were taking people to their dialysis appointments. The fire department was helping out with oxygen, people who are oxygen dependent. Some of the challenges we saw, first of all, fleet readiness. You know, this storm is coming in, so we have to get chains on all of our patrol vehicles so we don't have a lot of accidents. And so the city shop really stepped up. They started working around the clock, really helping us getting our fleet ready. We had some power outages in some of the city buildings. Now all the critical infrastructure is on generator backup, but not all the buildings are covered 100%. So we had our own issues with pipe burst. We had one at the animal shelter. Fortunately, some employees were there when it happened. They decided to stay overnight. That's how dedicated they are. They stayed on cots overnight just to tend to the animals in the animal shelter, and they were actually there when that pipe burst. And so that we were able to mitigate a lot of the damage. And if you think about, you know, the fact that many of our employees, including yours truly, were dealing with their own power loss at their house. It was very disruptive, but they did an excellent job. Everybody came to work. Everybody managed to work and manage the crises that were going on in their homes. And overall, it was a very coordinated and well-run response. And I think it really turned out well, quite honestly, just because of a lot of the pre-planning that had occurred especially in our emergency management operations, things like that. So any questions about the winter weather response?
Was there anything you learned that you'll do different next year or whatever?
I'm sure there will be. We're still reviewing after action items like that. It's hopefully there's not a next time.
Right.
Hopefully this is a once in a lifetime
If
event.
you prepare, it won't happen.
Right. But I think it will probably be not all that long of a list, quite honestly, because of some of the emergency preparedness steps we've already taken as a city. So a lot of it is just problem solving and getting together and making sure we're communicating with everybody. But we will do an after action review, and I think it's in progress now. We'll probably see some recommendations from that. Yes, sir.
Chief, I have a question. That 114 accident, could you talk a little bit about what you guys did in addition to protect the officers? I know that Chief Conley's group's got the blocker, old trucks or old fire trucks.
Yeah.
So how did you guys handle that?
The fire department started a very innovative program in the fire service with their blocker trucks. And the idea is you repurpose an old piece of equipment, an old fire truck that would otherwise be retired from the fleet, and you use it as an additional protective measure in highway management incidents. So you keep this truck at the end of where the first responders are working, and of course it's well lit and everything, and it just provides an additional layer of protection for the officers and the firefighters who are working a scene like that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Can you talk a little bit about the success that the Irving Police Department's had with the mental health team and the response and how that has worked to help the taxpayers and the citizens at Irving, please?
Absolutely. I thought you may have a question about that, Councilman.
Yeah.
So I've been here on a prior occasion talking about the mental health team, and I think at that time it was kind of just getting started. Since then, we've grown the program quite a bit. We have some very best practice oriented SOPs in place. We're starting to gain ground in the area of case management and being able to help these folks maintain the continuity of care. And the idea behind it is this mental health response team not only provides highly trained response to mental health crisis calls to help support patrol and other emergency responders, but also they do follow-ups with our clinician. So we have a co-responder model, as you may recall. We have, there's a sergeant that oversees officers on the team, and we pair a clinician with 2 officers. They're in a radio car, it's not marked. They have a different looking uniform so that it doesn't look like the full police uniform. They wear basically BDUs and a polo. And we found that people in crisis respond better if the officers don't look as like a traditional police officer. And so that's worked really well. And so the officers are important because they provide scene security. And then once the scene is secure and everything's kind of stabilized, then the clinician can come in there and do her work and make an assessment, be able to determine what's in the best interest of this patient. Sometimes they may need to be detained on an emergency basis, in which case we'll take them to Parkland and do the admitting process for that. They may just need a referral, perhaps. And I also want to mention, in conjunction with our behavioral health leadership team, and due to the work that group has done, we were able to achieve having the first outpatient clinic in the city of Irving, which is just amazing. And for a number of reasons, but to me, it's kind of astounding to think about a city of 240,000 people with no inpatient or outpatient mental health services whatsoever. And it's understandable when you consider our proximity to Dallas and all the services are kind of centrally located there. But because of the work of that group and some of the conversations that were occurring and the data that the team collected and shared, and we were able to demonstrate the need for that clinic, we were able to get one here. So I consider that a huge victory. The team itself, we're about to start a second team. We've hired a second clinician, and we're about to hire a third clinician. And this was with the generous support of the Irving City Council and some federal grants that we were able to secure because they believed in the philosophy of our program and the intent of our program. So that third clinician is going, most likely going to be a case manager, which is going to free up a lot of the time for the officers that they spend on the phone doing follow-ups, checking on people, making sure that they're okay. Again, trying to maintain that continuity of care. So I'm really excited about the future of the program. I think it's doing really well. Did I cover everything?
Whose idea was it who brought this to the city? Was the main police officer who shepherded this through the city?
The main police officer? Well, I was probably the spokesperson, but you know what, Councilman Taylor? The idea kind of organically came from two police officers who saw the need. The base idea of we need to do something, and we didn't know what that something was going to look like. Chief Boyd assigned me the project of improved mental health services in the city of Irving. Okay. My police officer cop brain said, okay, we'll assign a couple of guys to this, and I'll have this off of my plate in 2 months. What are we, 5 years into it?
Yeah.
I'm still actively involved in it. The learning curve is just tremendous. There's so much that goes into it. I mean, basic things like being able to communicate with healthcare providers, right? You need business associate agreements in place for that. And it took me a while to figure it out, like, an MOU won't do it. How can we overcome the problem of HIPAA and having clinicians from two entities being able to communicate? Well, we need a business associate agreement. Finally snapped on that. We got those in place. So we're in a place right now where we are coordinating services between multiple entities because it's a very complex system. And at the center of it, we have the team, responding to resource needs and communicating with the providers. So we're just in a very good place right now. And I love talking about it. So sorry if I'm taking too much time. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
What causes a 30-car pileup?
Ice and chain reaction, unanticipated, similar to the one in Fort Worth, that was more like 110 car pileup, but I guess it's just a combination of not anticipating ice, and people are probably going too fast because they didn't anticipate encountering ice. And then once one car slides, it just creates a chain reaction.
Up north, we have the laws and everything that say you can't drive at existing conditions. I don't think Texas has that. Is there any work we can get that on the books?
Oh, we do.
We have to flash on the thing, you cannot drive past existing conditions, and then maybe post something, so everybody slow down.
Yeah, there's a generalized duty of care that says that you have to drive in a reasonable and prudent manner consistent with the prevailing conditions, basically. We do have a law like that on the books, but not everyone follows that advice.
They'll give you a ticket if you drive past it.
Yes.
You cause an accident. Maybe with 5 miles an hour, you go to a parked car, they say you shouldn't be on the road.
And we can do that if we can prove the factors. A lot of times we don't witness it, so we kind of have to piece it together. And if we can establish probable cause that someone committed a violation, then we can certainly do that. All right, yes, ma'am.
Does the mental health group work with the Carroll CSAC Center?
They do. Matter of fact, they work out of that center. And although they're not a part of that, it's just kind of their offices there. But they do interact with the counselors there, and they get some cases from there. Yes, Councilman.
One of the things I think that's really important, you may want to just take a moment about it. We have an tendency to load a lot on our police and fire for that matter. So they just don't put out fires, they just don't arrest, do their laws. And one of the concerns that we have, our focus on council is, what can we do to ensure the mental health of our officers and our fire and public safety? Because they're being asked to do a lot of things, and well, some of the pressure that we have to do. So, like the advocacy center, you may want to talk about how we do. One of the things that I'm very involved in is suicide prevention for all our veterans, and it really translates right into.
Yes, and we have made tremendous strides in that area. 10 years ago, perhaps.
Chief Redmond, could you kind of restate that so people who are zooming in could hear? I'm sorry, I should have brought your microphone, Councilman, kind of so they get a drift of where you're going with your answer.
The question Councilman Zaponte asked was regarding what can be done to support mental health of first responders, police officers, what things can be done. And we've made tremendous strides. We started a peer support program about 5 years ago, which has worked out really well. You know, it's confidential. We don't see the inquiries, we don't see the cases, but we know from the numbers that it's very well used, which I think is a good sign. People are dealing with their internal issues, and that's turned out to be a very good program. And I think, you know, just supporting any state or federal legislation that would fund that type of thing would be the biggest asset to us, just to further this. I believe there's some pending legislation right now for a statewide first responder peer support program, which would be excellent. I don't have the bill number with me, but I can try to get that for you.
I think we're going to push some Carolina that's coming in on the city council side. And the reason I bring it up is because we have found that you have to have a peer relationship. Unless another officer is talking to an individual that is an officer that's seeking or has a situation at the end, it's very tough for that individual that's talking to somebody that is not taking advantage. That's what it's doing. Just know that we're all.
Absolutely, that is important, because otherwise there's not that base understanding. And I think that, you know, the therapeutic part of it isn't as effective if you're just talking to a stranger who doesn't necessarily have a law enforcement background or a fire background. That's an excellent point. Anything else? Am I short on time? Did you want me to mention legislation, or are we?
Oh, we're good. We're a little bit over.
Okay, my apologies for going over. Thank you very much for having me.
Any closing comments for Lindsay?
Well, I would like to say, Chief, thank you. Very nice. Great report. Thank you for being here today. And we appreciate everything you do. We'll look forward to another update. Oh, sorry, I'm guilty.
I'd like to say thank you, Chief, for being here today and helping us recognize the officer of the quarter. We have one more to do. I'm sure the Chief here in the next few weeks. So we invite you back. Great update on what's happening, and thank you for all you do. We appreciate you. We're very blessed to have the department, the leadership that we have in the city of Irving. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Chief, and congratulations again, Officer Baxter. We have a couple of announcements, flags. As of this morning, we have 806 paid subscriptions, 1,262 are pending, almost $37,000. There is a flag summit on Saturday. Rick and I are attending via Zoom. I left my phone home, John, so I don't know what time it is. we can send the information to you. If anyone's interested in attending, Kathy, I don't know what you have, what else is going on Saturday. I think that's it. So unless anyone has any other announcements, thank you, everyone. Oh, no, thank you for everyone for attending. Thank you to all of our Zoomers for taking the time to be here as well. And Buddy Brown will give us some four-way test.
Thanks so much. 9:30. Thank you.
That summit is at 9:30.
Is it the truth? Is there all concern? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
And thank you to our Bill and Secretary today, Bill LeVar.